Hey saxophone players, Mr. Lenz here again, and just want to go over your first few notes and making your first sounds on the instrument as you're practicing this first week. So when you have your instrument all together, you're actually now going to take it apart. So we're going to just take the neck and mouthpiece off together. So this is where we'll start together. Now the two things we talked about, making sure you remember when you make a sound on the saxophone, your bottom lip and your top teeth. So your bottom lip should go over your bottom teeth, and just the red part, like this. Okay, you put your finger over your bottom lip and feel your teeth underneath your lip, like that. You don't want a bunch of lip crammed in, like this, because that can, cause the sound to be kind of funny. So just a little bit of lip over your teeth, like that, and then top teeth on the mouthpiece. So it should look like this. Okay, that's what's happening inside, and then you put your lips around the mouthpiece. And that's how you're going to make your sound. So again, bottom lip, top teeth. Now, a couple things. If you're not able to get a sound out, you might have too little mouthpiece in, or you might just be squeezing too tight, and it might sound like this. You can't get air through. So try just a touch more mouthpiece and loosen up just a little bit around the mouthpiece to let the air through. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, some of you might be getting really squeaky, squawky sounds like this. Okay, and your dog's probably howling in your house. So that means you've got a little bit too much mouthpiece in your mouth, and you can just kind of back off a little bit to get that sound. So firm corners, flat chin, blowing through there like that. That's how you're going to get your sound and how you're going to want it to sound on the neck and mouthpiece there. So that's a really good place to start. And the other thing, once we get going, you can start practicing your tonguing with just that. So we started to touch on that in your first lesson. When we tongue on the instrument, we use the tip of our tongue on the tip of the mouthpiece and the reed. So kind of like you're spitting a piece of rice, going. Your tongue is touching at the opening of your lips to release the air. Almost like you're saying two, 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 but your tongue is touching at the opening of your lips instead of the back of your front teeth. What you can do is try blowing through the mouthpiece and neck here. Just air to get used to how that feels. Thinking two, 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 but your tongue should be touching right at the tip of the mouthpiece and the reed. And then once you feel like you got the hang of it, you can try it on this. Like that. Okay? Now, a couple common pitfalls here. Some people try to pulse their air like that. Okay, so we want to avoid that. And then some people try and pinch it with their lips or some other thing. So just make sure your tongue is touching at the tip of the mouthpiece and the reed, and you're using one stream of air and stopping and starting it with your tongue. Okay, that's a great thing to practice on the neck and the mouthpiece. Now, once you feel like you've mastered that, you can go ahead and put that neck back on the saxophone. Just tighten this snug so that way the neck doesn't move around. And then we're going to play our first notes. Now the fingering chart shown in the book shows our first 3 fingers on top and our first 3 fingers on the bottom. And then that little teardrop shape there is our thumb key. So D for alto saxophones is our first note. So you're going to think 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And then make sure that you're pressing the key on the back. Now if you're playing tenor sax or baritone sax, your first note will be different. So follow the fingering chart that's listed for number 1 there. For tenors, that's going to be your G, which would be 1, 2, 3, and your thumb. Okay? So back to that D here. So you're going to think thumb, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 on the saxophone. Okay? You're going to get lined up here. Make sure the neck strap's at the right height. You got the mouthpiece in your mouth the right way. And it should sound like that. Let's try it together. Ready? Set, go. There you go. So for number 1, you're just going to hold that out for as long as you can, and then you're going to take a second and then hold it out for as long as you can again. And then when we get to number 2, that's where we start to use our tongue for the notes. Each of those quarter notes gets 1 beat each. Each of the quarter rests gets 1 beat each. So number 2 will sound just like this. rest. Rest, 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 rest. That's how you play that one. So this is a great place to start in your first practice session, getting used to holding the instrument, pressing your keys down, making sure they're down all the way. Now, if you're getting some funny sounds, check to make sure you're on the mouthpiece right. Also, check to make sure you're not bumping the palm keys here or here. Then the other thing to check is to make sure you have your keys down all the way. Sometimes people will slightly lift a key up, and then that makes the sound a little bit funky on their notes there. So your next note on number 3, you just have one finger to put down, and that's this middle finger right here on this middle key, and it will sound like this. Let's try it together. Ready? Middle finger down. Ready? Go. Very good. Nice job. So again, working just to get that consistent sound, playing long notes on that note, getting used to pressing those keys down. Make sure you're not bumping any other keys. And then on that one, there was no thumb key. So you're just putting that thumb on the black island there and making sure it's not bumping the register key there. Okay? Moving on to our next note that we have is our B. That's the note for number 5. B, if you're looking at your fingering chart, is just your first finger, and that is it. And it will sound like this. Let's try that together. Ready? Very good. Nice job. So for number 6, you'll use your B, but then notice that it switches, and you have B, B, C, C, D. So you're going to need to practice switching between those notes one after the other. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll put the saxophone up like I'm going to play, and then I just make sure I got my fingerings down before I even start playing, and then I try and play it. And that seems to help sometimes, getting the fingering patterns right. On to our next note that we're going to play, just so we have our note checks right. The A is the next note. So if you're looking at your fingering chart on number 7, it's going to be first and second finger, and it will sound like this. Let's try it together. Here we go. Pressing first and second finger. No thumb down. It'll just be on that little black circle key. Here we go. Ready? Nice job. All right, and our final note that we're going to talk about today is your G. You notice the fingering chart is 1, 2, and 3, and it will sound like this. Like that. Now you notice I had a little bit of a squeak there, a squawk, and that's okay. Those are going to happen. So just keep trying if that happens and try and get that sound to be nice and steady. Let's try the G together. Ready? There you go. You are now playing your first 5 notes. Once you have those down, I recommend going back and trying to play the even number songs, numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8, and 10. And that will use your notes in succession with each other. Okay? And when you're doing this, make sure that you're starting each note from the tip of your tongue, not pulsing your air. That's a really important thing to think about. And tapping your foot, so you're feeling 1 pulse for each note and 1 pulse for each rest. You're off to a great start. You've got your first 5 notes. You're making your first sounds on the instrument. Have fun this week practicing. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in your next lesson.